Hi everyone, welcome to the Autoimmune Dietitian YouTube channel. My name is Annie Rubin. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist and I run a private practice focused on people with autoimmune and inflammatory disorders. So in my work with my clients, I help them use food and lifestyle as a way to reduce symptoms and improve their quality of life. So March is Autoimmune Disease Awareness Month, and actually it is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. So I thought I'd kick off kind of the first video of this month with the discussion about multiple sclerosis or MS. MS affects nearly 1 million people in the US and is 3 times more common in women than in men. Today I'm going to cover what this autoimmune disease is, the signs and symptoms of MS and how it's diagnosed, what are some dietary and lifestyle things you can do to improve symptoms. So before I jump in, I just need to attach a disclaimer to this video that the information in today's talk is not the substitute for the diagnosis, treatment, or care of disease by medical provider. This is for informational purposes only. So please consult your qualified health professional for any changes that you make to your medical care. All right, what is MS? MS is an autoimmune disease that attacks the central nervous system, specifically the brain, spinal cord, and optic nerves. We need these components of our central nervous system because they control everything we do. So when there's damage to any of these parts, our body's ability to move and function normally starts to break down. So there are 4 main types of MS. The first one is called clinically isolated syndrome, or CIS. This is when you have episodes of neurologic symptoms that last at least 24 hours and then goes away. This type may or may not receive an actual MS diagnosis, but are considered at high risk for developing MS in the future. Relapsing remitting MS is the most common disease appearance that is defined by attacks of new or increasing neurologic symptoms that are followed by periods of remission. So during remission, symptoms can either disappear or completely go away, or some may become permanent. Secondary progressive MS is a third type. Some people with relapsing remitting MS go on to develop secondary progressive MS, where neurologic function starts to worsen over time. And then primary progressive MS is where neurologic function worsens as soon as symptoms appear without any relapse or remissions. And around 15% of people with MS have this type. So what are the risk factors for developing MS? The most interesting one to me is that low vitamin D levels increase your risk of developing MS, which is why it's more commonly found in people that live further away from the equator. Other risk factors include smoking and carrying excess weight. There are some current research studies that have also found a connection between previous infections of the Epstein-Barr virus, which is a virus that causes mono, and an increased risk in developing MS. So like with any autoimmune disease, the signs and symptoms are different and unpredictable. Symptoms can also change over time, and no one presentation is the same. So common symptoms of MS include fatigue, walking difficulties or issues with gait, spasticity, something called an MS hug, vision problems, bladder problems, bowel problems, numbness or tingling in the face or extremities. So how do you get properly diagnosed? Well, getting a diagnosis is not simple and straightforward, and there's no one single test that can determine if you have MS or not. Your doctor will likely take a detailed history of any past or present symptoms, ask about family history, travel, environmental exposures, or history of prior illnesses. He or she will also assess your neurologic function by looking at your vision, hearing, facial sensation, reflexes, coordination, balance, and gait. Textbook definitions of MS require the following. So evidence of damage in at least 2 separate areas of the central nervous system, and evidence that damage occurred at different points in time, and all other diagnoses are ruled out. So all of this kind of investigation work might include blood tests to rule out other conditions. They may take a spinal tap to look for antibodies associated with MS, or an MRI to look for lesions on the central nervous system. So obviously getting an MS diagnosis can be extremely terrifying and scary, but there are several things you can do and many treatment options to explore. First and foremost, it's really important to connect with other people who have MS. You can learn a lot from others going through the same thing, and it's a great way to process the grief of having an autoimmune disease. Second, I always tell my clients to get second opinions before starting any form of treatment. There are a lot of very effective medications, but you want to make sure that you get the right one for you. There are also alternative treatments out there that are worth exploring or doing in conjunction with conventional treatments. In terms of diet and lifestyle, MS is one of the more researched diseases when it comes to those. If you're not familiar with Terry Wahls, get familiar with her. She is a research scientist with multiple sclerosis and was able to reverse her disease progression with diet and lifestyle alone. She has researched her Wahls protocol, which has helped a number of people improve their disease. Her diet plan consists of 3 levels that build on top of each other, and all 3 levels consist of eating 9 cups of vegetables daily, broken down into 3 cups of leafy greens, 3 cups of sulfur-rich vegetables, and 3 cups of deeply colored vegetables. So the first level of the Wahls protocol is to remove gluten and dairy. The second level looks more like a paleo type of eating pattern where you remove grains, you limit potatoes and beans to 2 servings per week, and you add in things like seaweed, organ meats, soaked nuts and seeds, and fermented foods. The third level is called Paleo Plus, which is basically like a ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting. So it removes potatoes, beans, starchy vegetables, and legumes. You're limited to 1 serving of fruit daily and 2 meals per day to, expand your fasting window. In terms of lifestyle, stress is a major trigger. So focus on removing or reducing stress in your life. Dr. Wahls also recommends functional electrical stimulation, or eStim. It's a type of treatment that applies a mild electrical stimulus to a muscle to help it move better. It's very important to seek out a rehabilitative specialist to get evaluated for this treatment. And then lastly, sleep is really important, and cold stimulus. So some people with MS are very sensitive to heat. So shocking your system with cold can help reduce stress, but it can also help your body in a number of other ways, including improve sleep. So today we focused on multiple sclerosis, what the disease is, what the signs and symptoms are, how you get a diagnosis, and what are some diet and lifestyle things that you can do to improve your symptoms and quality of life. If you would like more help managing your symptoms, please reach out to me. You can go to my website and book a free call. I would love to chat with you about your goals. I also have a very extensive blog on my website that you can, research and look up other autoimmune diseases or anything related to diet and lifestyle in terms of reducing inflammation. In addition, I have a handful of free materials that you can download, and they're guides to kind of help you start managing your autoimmune disease or inflammatory diseases with food and lifestyle. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked the video, please hit that little subscribe button on the bottom. These come out around every week or so. And if you have any topics that you're interested in learning, please send me a message. I would love to include those in any upcoming videos. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.